Hello, everyone. Welcome to SBA's SBU sessions by people with spina bifida, planned by them and presented by them, life hacks for changing times. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers for this afternoon, evening, day, wherever you are. We have four. We're grateful to you for participating in this important topic. Elizabeth Scriven is a licensed psychologist in the state of Washington. Dr. Scriven is currently working as a clinical supervisor clinician with Therapeutic Health Service, a community mental health setting in Everett, Washington. She has worked in the mental health field since 2012 on behalf of people of different ages, abilities, and backgrounds in a variety of settings, including hospital rehabilitation, outpatient clinics, and community mental health. Carlin Briegel is a clinical psychologist and Colorado native practicing in Boulder County, Colorado. She offers diverse psychology services to children, teens, and adults, and specializes in the treatment of depression, anxiety, trauma, and grief, adjustment life transition issues across the age span, disability and chronic illness, learning disabilities and neurodiversity, educational prep, and LGBTQ issues. That's a mouthful, Carlin. Carlin has worked predominantly in urban community mental health centers, elementary and middle schools, and private clinics in California, Colorado, and Michigan. In line with her passion for helping individuals with chronic illnesses manage their health and navigate life, her dissertation research focused on self-care, continuity of care, and treatment adherence in adults with spina bifida. Monica Still is proud to be among the first generation of kids with spina bifida on the threshold of senior citizenship. Just on the threshold, Monica. She is involved in advocacy at the local, state, and national levels. Monica serves as a board member of Access Mob Pittsburgh. She is honored to serve as the secretary of the board for Disability Rights Pennsylvania, chair for the Mental Health Advisory Council, and member of the Connecticut Health Law Project Board. She's on the planning committee for Disability Pride Pittsburgh. She is also a founding member of the SBA Advisory Council, Adult Advisory Council, and continues to serve to this day, as well as serving on various other committees. She returned to nursing when she got her dream job at the UMPC Adult Spina Bifida Clinic. Monica lives in the wilds of Western Pennsylvania with her tribe of cats. She is the mom of two beautiful adult daughters and grandmother to one adorable girl. She is very proud of the women they are growing into. Joe Slanika. Joe lives in Long Island, New York, and works at the Henry Viscardi School. His love of wheelchair athletics led him to his position there as a wheelchair basketball coach and assistant teacher. In his spare time, he participates in adaptive CrossFit, surfing, scuba diving, skydiving, acting, and modeling. You name it, Joe has done it or is doing it. So welcome to our speakers, and we look forward to your comments this evening.
So, what do we know about the current situation? Well, at the very least, we know that changes are coming. At some level, changes is inevitable, whether globally, nationally, and locally. These changes are infrastructural, economic, legal, political, cultural, and environmental, and interact with one another in assorted ways and impact our own lives in various ways.
Slide. So how do we feel about changes? Advance, please.
Did the text disappear?
I think you have to click for the.
I'm sorry, is it not doing? Oh, okay.
Yes. If you could go ahead and just put all of the text on there, I think that would be easiest. Thank you. So how do we feel about changes? Well, there's a bazillion different ways that each and every one of us might respond. Oops, back. There we go. Some of us might feel some anxiety or worry or even dread. confusion, ambivalence. So ambivalence, not really knowing how to feel. Like, this isn't good, this isn't bad, I'm not sure. Hope or optimism. Not all changes are bad changes, right? There might be some anticipation or excitement, some sadness, frustration, anger, a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, and maybe even despair. And none of these are right or wrong or good or bad. When things happen, we have emotions in response, and our emotions are information. We get to follow up with our emotions by asking, what's that about? Why am I angry? What's going on? What's making me sad? And can be really helpful in helping us figure out what the real problem might be. Slide.
Ooh, click. So how can we navigate the present changes and indeed changes in general? One thing we can do is stay in the loop. Knowledge is half the battle, so we can always benefit from getting connected and staying connected with organizations and groups that are on the front lines of the issues that concern us, especially disability issues. But are not limited strictly to disability issues. So a few that we listed are the NCLU, the NAACP, the Center for Medicare Advocacy, and the SBA, among others.
We can advocate for ourselves. We can know our rights. Know we can speak up. And even sometimes speaking up and ruffling feathers, making good trouble. Um, we can contact the SBA National Resource Center, and learn more about our rights or how to speak up. We can learn how to navigate the systems that we have to live in. So where can you find support, information, or get help when you need it? Um, let's see, we can contact, who can we contact to file a complaint, ask a question, um, ask for resources for the needs that we have. What are the best ways to get in touch with these different places? We can talk to hospital administrators, city or state officials, insurers. These are all people that are in the system that might be able to point us in directions or give us information.
What are other ways that we can navigate change? I think one of the most basic ways that we can exert a ton of influence and control over is to build what I would call your life hack toolbox. So I will often talk about a toolbox in terms of our strategies, our strengths, our supports, everything that we can use in an emergency or a time of difficulty or trouble, or when we are being stretched to our limit of what do I have that can get me through. So to build your life hack toolbox, you can start by asking yourself, what are my strengths, skills, and talents? And you can think about, how might I use these things? What are the ways I can apply them? Conversely, you need to ask yourself, what are my weaknesses and gaps? Where do I feel vulnerable? What am I not good at? What do I feel like I don't really know? And then from there, you can brainstorm, what are the various appropriate ways I might overcome my weaknesses as appropriate? Are there ones that I can compensate for if I can't technically overcome them? And are there even weaknesses or deficits that I can convert into strengths, or that actually have a bright side to them? And how might I get creative in applying that? Very important. Also, you need to ask yourself, who or what are my social supports? Social supports is psychologies for just the people and relationships and organizations that can help and advise and support you in difficult times. So, what are the communities I belong to, the agencies and organizations I can reach out to, the people I can lean on when the going gets tough? How can I make use of them? Who and what is best or least equipped to handle my assorted needs and desires? When talking to clients, they'll often say, well, my mother is great at helping with these things, but when I try to get her to help with this other thing, she's an intrusive, obnoxious mess, or she can't do it, or she doesn't know how to do it. Or I have a friend who is great for advice, but they don't know how to give me space to vent. Or I have a friend who means well, but they can be kind of flaky when certain things happen, so I can't necessarily rely on them. So, taking an inventory of your support network and how you can sort of mobilize your team and who does what and when and why, I think can be really powerful. Also, looking at what are my greatest needs? Where do I need the greatest amount of support? Where do I need to beef up my toolbox potentially? And really important, what are the internal and external obstacles to having my needs met? Internal things being uh, mental illness, physical illness, my own reservations or fears, my own areas of ignorance, my blind spots, and external obstacles being systems, people, physical obstacles that make it harder for me to do what I need to do, get where I need to go, survive and thrive. Okay, next slide.
So, like, how do we build this toolbox, right? Carlin just covered a whole bunch of things that we might consider putting in there. So now how do we gather them? First, we can observe and learn from others. What tools have other people found or created that you could benefit from? What other life hacks do you see people using? Be flexible and get creative. Don't just have a plan A, but make sure you have a plan B, and a plan C too. Um, I like to say prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and enjoy the moment. So thinking about that, what are all the different ways you can maybe do something? Get cozy with technology. When used wisely, online forums, apps, and smart devices, and even AI can help take a load off so that you have more energy for time and what really matters. And I think by wisely, what we mean here is going to reliable sources and making sure you're fact checking. We all know that there's a lot of well intended, but not necessarily accurate information online in some of our chat groups. And there's also some not so well intended misinformation in some of the groups and things that we see. So, when we go back and we think about the people, right? And those people that can support us, maybe some of us could use some extra support figuring out what's accurate information versus not so accurate information when we're using tech. But tech can be a wonderful tool. Um, Remember, none of us is an island. There are things that are best achieved and which can only be achieved through mutual aid and support, that collaboration, that teamwork, that sense of connectivity. So the longer I do the work as a psychologist, the more I firmly believe that our brains are wired to be in community and connection with other people. And so when we're reaching out and asking for help, we might also ask, how can I help you? How can I support you? How can like you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and we do this thing together. Sometimes one of the biggest life hacks that I find beneficial is that mutual relationship, that mutual give and take, that I'm going to help you with this and you're going to help me with that because there's value in there. I feel important and I feel needed, and that can feel really good, especially in my mental health piece. And it helps me feel not alone. And fear and anxiety tend to make me feel alone. So if I can connect and if I can give back as well as receive help, that can be a really big one. It's one of my favorite life hack toolbox tools.
So, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, if you anticipate change, if you can see change coming, or if you notice yourself getting anxious or worried about things in your life and your world changing, best time is to prepare now. So, like we said, hope for the best, plan for the worst. So, maintain optimism, but best way is to fortify that optimism with action. So let's go back to the toolbox. Got to ask yourself, okay, what's the current status of my toolbox? What of my tools are missing or potentially unreliable? So I can ensure I have the most powerful, versatile toolbox that I can muster. How can you fortify and supplement your toolbox in the event your preferred arsenal fails or falls short? I think we all have preferred strategies, ways of being, habits, relationships that we lean on. And that is great. And sometimes they fall through or they don't work as intended or hoped. So don't just have a plan A. Whenever possible, come up with a plan B, a plan C, and even a plan D as appropriate. And you don't have to necessarily be in love with B, C, D, E, F. You may never use them. You may say, the world would have to be ending for me to do plan E, but at least you've articulated what it would look like and you've visualized how would I utilize it? What would that feel like? What would that look like? And hopefully, can I utilize other plans before that so I don't have to go there? Identify and assign roles to your supports based on their skills, connections, readiness, and willing to help. So, like we talked about earlier, deputizing your supports to sort of say, this person does this person's great here, this organization can help me with this, this agency is great for that, and having those connections on hand and at the ready. Very important to identify and strive to fill in gaps in your knowledge and understanding. I think it's very common for us to be intimidated or frightened by what we don't know or where we feel weak. And that's the stuff that can get you. So if you feel anxious about a gap or an area of interest or area of ignorance, sorry, all the better to look it in the eye, target it, and say, can I learn more about this? Can I visualize it? Can I engage with it so it's a little bit less scary? I think the monster in the closet that we've never seen is scarier than if we just fling open the closet door and look at it. Also important, cultivate useful habits to keep yourself stable in unstable times. So I think having health regimens, daily routines, ways of tackling your to-do list, even little recreational habits that you do every day when the rest of the world is in a whirlwind and there's chaos. These are the things that you can lean on that help to keep you stable and sane and say, everywhere else is on fire, but at least I can trust and do these things. And I can help to calm my own system by saying, hey, there is some stability left in the universe. And don't be afraid to build connections and reach out for help. That's one of the hardest things for a lot of my clients if they don't want to be a burden or a pain, or they're worried about, oh, well, someone's going to expect me to reciprocate, or am I really that needy, or I don't want to take someone's place in this queue because some people need help more than I do. I'd say don't be afraid to step up, build relationships, build connections, ask for help. And hey, people can often always say no if you're honest about what you need and want from them. But first, you've got to be at least clear and coherent and assertive about those needs. Okay, next slide.
What's
I
a
unmute
mutual?
myself. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Joe.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm going to talk a little bit about mutual aid. What is a mutual aid group? Mutual aid groups are voluntary community-led initiatives where people come together to support each other by sharing resources and services, often in response to unmet needs within their community. These groups operate on the principles of solidarity rather than charity and emphasize collective action and empowerment. So what does that mean? I mean, that's a really nice definition of it, but what does it mean in practice? In Pittsburgh, we have a mutual aid group, and it developed during the pandemic because there was a lack of resources. Disabled people, and it's not just people with spina bifida, but every disability you can think of is in that group. And we got together, and it's on Facebook, and it's also in Signal and Discord. And we started talking to each other about what our needs were. What's missing? What do we need? How can you help? How can I help you? And what we ended up doing was building this incredible community that not only can talk to each other in the virtual space, but in reality, help each other. It's like a support group on steroids, because it's not just supporting each other and talking about things, it's action. It's action-led. Somebody posts in the group, hey, I can't pick up my medications because, my car broke down, the bus isn't working, whatever. And another person pipes up, hey, I can do that for you. I'll drop them off for you. And this is how it went, and this is how it grows. We now have 1,000 people in the group. We started with 20. That was in 2020, and we started with 20. And we're still going today, and we're growing. We are now adding, because we're seeing needs or anticipate needs, looking at our toolbox as a group, and we're adding non-disabled people, because there are some things that some of us just can't do, like put an air conditioner in a window or take an air conditioner out of a window, do yard work, because we figured that at some point there is going to be a need for this. And we're talking about, as a group collectively, helping each other out. Who has the type of disability that they still have the physical capability to help someone who doesn't have the physical capability, but maybe this person could make phone calls for them because they're really uncomfortable on the phone. So it's working with each other and moving forward. Next slide, please. We share resources, skills, money, and experiences. The money part is tough. We're almost all disabled people. So a lot of people on SSI and SSDI, we don't have a tremendous amount of money, which is kind of how that works. But whoever has it at the time, I swear we pass the same $10 around, but it works, and it's what is good for the community. We're community building, and we're not just community building online. I have great friends online. I have wonderful friends online, but unfortunately, if I need a ride to the doctors, or I need to know about a doctor that's in Pittsburgh, are they good? What's your experience with them? They don't know that. So it's all about local. It's taking the virtual experience, making it local, not necessarily in person all the time, because we do have concerns still about COVID. And so we just make it work in Pittsburgh, in the area, and we hope to expand. And like I said, we're supporting support with action. Next slide. How do you find these groups? Social media. You can use platforms like Facebook, Twitter, I refuse to call it the other name, and Instagram to connect with your communities. They may also have channels on Discord and Signal. Online directories, websites like Mutual Aid LA Network in my community have directories of mutual aid groups. I also saw one today that was Mutual Aid HUD. And then local news and community websites. keep an eye on local news and community websites for announcements about mutual aid initiatives. Somebody doing something or somebody talking about it. And that's the other thing, word of mouth. We didn't advertise anywhere. We didn't do anything that was out in the open and saying, hey, we have this mutual aid group. We actually only started doing that this year. And we were word of mouth, disabled person to disabled person, talking about it and growing it organically. And I hope, because this is in the Pittsburgh area, I live north of Pittsburgh. And my hope is that we can grow these in communities, because what's important is that we help each other out. The way we're going to get through all this chaos is by helping each other and sitting together. Especially in rural communities, I think that is so important because the resources are already limited. Like I said, I'm in Pennsylvania. Most of Pennsylvania is rural. You go about a half hour outside of any of the major cities and you are in farmland. And those are the areas that need the most help. So those are the areas that you've got to rely on your neighbors and rely on each other. And finally, Joe's going to talk about looking for helpers.
Okay.
Pittsburgh again, Mr. Rogers.
Right. So where do you look for your helpers? Down here on Long Island, we have a great local support within our local governments, disability services, your local schools, your disability advocate groups, your medical professionals, and mutual aid groups, groups that are like-minded. We have a lot of different kind of like Lions clubs and Rotary clubs that lend aid to the local community. Again, like Monica said, a lot of it is word of mouth. We get together, I'm more on the athletic side of things. And anytime I get together to play a particular sport with a particular, group of guys and gals, there's always an issue. And there's always somebody that is going through that same issue or has gone through that same issue. So that, we kind of lean on each other's shoulders and experience to get ourselves through whatever we're getting through. But definitely the local smaller governments, the town governments, things like that. Here on Long Island, we have two counties, Nassau and Suffolk. They have their own governments and they have their own disabled services for people with disabilities across the board. Local Spina Bifida Association of New York State is a huge part of what we do in the spina bifida community. I do work in a school for kids with disabilities. Here on Long Island, we are regional, meaning that our kids come from 8 different counties. So not only, is Long Island involved, but New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York City, and Westchester is involved. So there's a lot of intertwining within the local communities, whether it's a local group or governments or school districts.
Resources. Local governments and the local programs and stuff are wonderful resources, but I think we need to go and think a little more broader right now, because again, if the funding's not there and we anticipate that it's possible that the funding won't be there, that we're going to need to look at some other avenues, some of the older ones and some newer ones. One is the National Disability Rights Network. Every single state and territory has a disability rights organization that is federally funded. It is a little bit pinky about what's going on with them as well with their funding, but even though the funding is being cut, the law hasn't changed. So they are there by law to make sure that everyone has their rights protected. So what you look up is whatever your state name is or territory name, and usually it's disability rights, blah, blah, blah. In Pennsylvania, it's disability rights, Pennsylvania. Few states have a little bit strange wording, but most of them are disability rights, Pennsylvania. The ADA National Network, Centers for Independent Living. I mean, Centers for Independent Living grew out of the movement for disabled people helping each other. They are required to have disabled people. So working there, and also over half their boards have to be disabled people. So again, that's a great resource. State resources vary. Every state has something a little bit different, but what you can look for is look for different things that are dealing with like health law. There are groups that will help work with Medicaid. If Medicaid cuts, lowers your benefits, then look for an advocate, somebody who is out there and works in advocacy to help you navigate this. Don't just accept if they sit there and go, no, we can't do this anymore. Then you know what? No. Tell them why they need to do it. Appeal everything. Don't just take no as an answer. The other thing is you can look for legal aid. You can look for, takes a little bit longer for groups to, unfortunately, class action suits. That's also where you can find some resources. If you see the newspaper that there's a class action suit, there's one currently against the state of Pennsylvania brought by Disability Rights PA against the Department of Human Services because they're not discharging people from the psychiatric institutions that exist. There's no plan to discharge people, and people have been there for years and they don't belong there. And so this is something that we're looking at, and that they're doing class action suits. So if there's something that's going on in your life, maybe there's something going on that you can get involved with. State and local government representatives. A lot of state and local representatives and also federal representatives will help when there is something going on. Best example I have is I was on Social Security disability, and then I went off it, went back to work, had to go back on it. And SSDI had this weird thing that we'll do an expedited appeal so that you can write, or an expedited determination so that you can go right back on it and keep it. But we'll just give it to you for 6 months to begin with, which they did. Well, their idea of expedited and mine are different. They hadn't made a decision. So after 6 months, I had gotten benefits and then I got nothing. I actually had to go to my 2 senators in Connecticut when I was living there to ask them to help me. And there are people in those offices, in local government offices and in state offices, that are there to help you. The town that I grew up in Connecticut has a social worker that is part of its local government. So again, these are things that you can look for and look for help. The American Civil Liberties Union, again, looking at what they can do to help people, and we can move forward that way. So, look around, talk to people. And my best advice is to get out and advocate, as hard as that is, because that's where you meet people. That's where you meet other disabled people. That's where you meet other advocates, and they may know people that you don't know. You may know people that they don't know. And that's how you get together And that's how you grow and how you make sure that all of us survive very changing times. Next slide. There is. Yep.
There you go. It's the questions. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, I really apologize for the link, but I'm glad that you're all here. So yeah, go ahead and send some of your questions. I see that Anna, you just posted a comment about transportation, that all of your friends and supports are pressuring you to start driving, get a car. The most local opportunities in Southern California, particularly in Ventura, are very unreliable. And you said you don't need a PCA, but you do need better transportation. And if you could maybe just put in the chat, what is a PCA in this? Is that the name of the local transportation?
A personal care attendant.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
So yeah, any
think-
thoughts on transportation? Oh, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Sorry, I think public transportation across the board, no matter where you live, is a problem. Again, on Long Island, we have two different counties, we have two different local governments, we have two different local accessible transit organizations. They do not cross county lines. So if somebody wants to go from Nassau County to Suffolk, they have to get dropped off by Nassau County, picked up by Suffolk, and go to their destination. You can imagine if somebody's trying to get from Manhattan to Suffolk County, that's probably three or four different routes, because in the city, the 5 boroughs, they have their own, and they're all county appropriate. Nobody crosses county lines. I do have a former student from Viscardi who set up his own private public transportation where he created his own company. It's called Tripper. And he's doing a bang up job trying to get everybody to wherever they need to go, whether it's a doctor's appointment or a party. But on the whole, public transportation is a problem. I'm not even talking about our Long Island Railroad or the subway system. Those are their own problems. Long Island Railroad on the whole is accessible, meaning that there are elevators to access the street and the platform level. But good luck to anybody trying to get anywhere if the elevators don't work. Same thing for the city. I've been in situations where I've taken a subway that is quote unquote accessible and the elevator doesn't work. What do you do? And there's no heads up. Like there's nobody you can call or there's no website that's got current information. So I was on my way from Long Island to Yankee Stadium, found out that the elevator at 161st Street was not operational, and I had to go, 2 stops further to find a operating elevator,
So
and
if I
then
can
work my
tie
way
this
back.
back in to the kind of the solution finding piece, Joe,
Mhm.
I think there's couple things here, right? If you're able to drive and you can afford to drive, there's a lot of freedom in driving. Um,
Mhm.
and for me, I live out in the suburbs, so I don't have great public transportation available, and I don't qualify for some of the dial ride stuff. So being able to drive to my local transit center and then take the commuter train, the light rail, things like that into the city when I need to is great. I hate driving into the city. I get parking tickets. It's no fun, whatever. So being able to drive is there's some freedom in there if you're able to do that. Um, Joe mentioned a number of barriers to some of the public transportation. So that's where planning comes in, right? Where are your transit centers? Where are your bus stops? Where's the train station? Where's the public bus station? What makes the most sense? Where are the elevators? How do you find out ahead of time that elevators aren't working, right? So in many places you can get online, you could do a trip planning feature tool on that website. And I know the one for my light rail will give you announcements about which stations have broken elevators if they have them.
And we also recognize that that does require more legwork and research. And I will
Absolutely.
fully acknowledge that it is a pain to have to put in more work when the average person can take a lot of this for granted, bebop down to their local station, not worry about what's out of network or is this thing coming today, and can just walk up the stairs if the elevator is out. And that is frustrating that
100%.
because of these systems and that they are often poorly funded, poorly supported, at war with each other, competing with one another, that the onus is on us to do what in a better organized world they would do for us. So keeping it real that
Mhm.
it just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Traveling while disabled is not fun.
No.
No.
And that's local travel, that's national travel, that's global travel, right? And so I think being honest with yourself and recognizing that piece in managing any mental health distress that comes with that. I personally end up hate traveling most of the time because of all the extra work I have to do. I had to call a hotel yesterday and ask them to go measure doorways for me, to find out whether or not my wheelchair could fit through the main door and the bathroom door. Um, Now, the bonus side of that, that gave me time to sign up for a free points perk system that then got me a huge discount to the room I wanted. So I got an upgrade, right? But it was an hour on the phone trying to figure it all out. So yeah, it's a pain in the butt. Um,
What about the question? I saw a question about SSA and signing up for that. I'm going to see if I can find it. So as there was a tips for an SSA meeting and having an appointment for her daughter. Sorry, I'm just having a hard time like scrolling through the comments right now. Hold
I
on.
found it.
Found it?
Just
I don't know if you have any tips for that, anybody?
what do you bring? What do you tell them?
Um, bring as much medical information as possible. Um, have all your records. Seriously, whelm them with records is helpful. That anything that says why your daughter needs SSA is one of the things that's helpful. So it is something that it can be daunting, but you know why this is needed, and go through every medical thing that you can possibly think of. Tell them absolutely everything that you do for your child and absolutely everything that your child needs assistance with. And that is kind of where it goes. It's the hardest part is that they're trained to say no to begin with, especially now. That's what I understand right now. So you have to just keep at it and keep pushing up. Quite honestly, I would see if there's a local advocate that would go with you. I think that's probably your best bet, is to have somebody go with you, even if it's another parent of another child who is disabled, who went through the system. They can talk to you and tell you exactly what will happen, and also how things are sort of the lay of the land in your area. I've helped people apply for Social Security disability, a little bit different than, just the SSI, SSA portion of it, in 2 different states. And what was required in one state and how they looked at it was different than the other state. And you have to excuse me, the sun is attacking me here. There, better. Okay.
Other questions?
I put in the chat, the National Resource Center for SBA is a place to, if you don't know a first step, that might be a place to start. And as Juanita has posted, everyone's going to get the recording and including the slide deck. So that will be helpful, I think, if you're trying to make the first step to build your toolbox.
I'm watching the chat about being late to work because of public transportation. Depending on your job and depending on your duties and things, a reasonable accommodation might be a flexible start time. So you have a start time of 9, you tell your transportation that you have to be there at 8:30, and you let your work know that there's a window of this time and this time, and I'm doing what I can, and I might need a flexible start time, and I will, if we're running late that day, I can call somebody, I can let them know. But depending on where you work, that would be a reasonable accommodation and something to talk to HR about. As of this point, reasonable accommodations at work are legally required. As far as reasonable goes, there's some gray space in there, but that part of the ADA isn't going anywhere yet. So making sure you're talking to your work, letting them know that you depend on undependable transportation, and what are your options for reasonable accommodations as far as your work schedule. Some places, again, depending on where you work, also are doing more work from home stuff. That was one of the gifts that came out of COVID in a lot of places, was that they learned that people can work from home. So is there a part of your job that if they give you a laptop, you could check your emails, check your Teams, do some stuff while you're waiting for your ride in the morning? Might be another reasonable accommodation, again, depending on the work site and what you're doing. And again, I just want to recognize, like, the onus of reasonable accommodations is on you. If you do not disclose, if you do not ask for it, you will not be offered reasonable accommodations. And some of that's HR policy. They're not allowed to ask about PHI and private information. So, and it is absolutely 100% okay to disclose, especially for those of us that use mobility devices. We're not hiding anyway. And asking for what you need, or working with your agency to find out what it is you need and what it is they can give you, is 100% appropriate and okay.
Any last questions? Our presenters have shared a lot of information today, and but as I said, you'll have this information in the recording. Please reach out to us at SBA, the link I put in the chat, and it can help guide you at least into the directions that we've been learning from our presenters. We would be glad to do that. Is there a last question here?
Someone looking for work. Way to use your resources. I love it. Work those networks.
If you don't ask, you won't get, right?
100%.
Right now, there are no jobs at SBA. That is not to say there won't be any. And I will say, you wanted to do some volunteer work with us. I know you need money. We all need money. That might be something, a way to start getting involved with SBA. There's always volunteer opportunities. Actually, working like you're in the office, but remotely. So please consider that if that fits into your opportunity list. Anything else? Presenters, last advice?
Thanks for being here tonight, everyone.
Yeah.
Just keep fighting the good fight, and we're stronger together.
Continue
right.
making
Amen.
good trouble.
Right. And wonderful resources in all of you